Hey everyone! So, a couple pieces of news for you today. First, we released a bonus episode about The Pit a few days ago with the great Margaret H. Willison. It's just for subscribers, so if that sounds like your kind of thing, become a paid subscriber at patreon.com/culturestudy and get immediate access. We talk all about season 2, what did and did not work, who is the hottest, very important questions. We also announced that Margaret is going to be joining the Culture Study universe permanently. She'll be doing monthly bonus episodes with me, along with a monthly newsletter feature called the Zeitgeist Syllabus, in which she'll give you a bunch of reading assignments for understanding whatever thing people are obsessing about at that moment. So we're talking like historical context, like stuff that was written in 1950 about this same idea, and stuff that was written 10 years ago, and stuff that's really making the rounds right now that's more elucidating. You can read my introductory interview with her at the link in the show notes. And I also wanted to let you know about a few upcoming episodes so that you can get your questions in. You've all been like on a tear recently. Our questions have been so good. A+, everyone gives you compliments. So let me use that as incentive for you to submit a few more. We're doing one on creativity and AI. So this is specifically about how AI can or cannot to work with our kind of creative juices. We're doing this episode with Vahini Vara, who I love. She's so smart on this stuff. So please take that in whatever direction you want. It's going to be amazing. We're also doing an episode with Sarah Mesley about white lady hair. You've already submitted some really good questions for this one, but I know there are more. And then another episode with Andrew Sean Greer, who's the author of Less, if you read that. He has a new book out called Villa Coco, and it's all about intergenerational friendships. So we want your questions about intergenerational friendships. What makes them hard? What makes them gratifying? How do you find them? Take it again wherever you want. And we also, of course, need to replenish our tank of Ask Ann Anything questions. You can submit all of these at tinyurl.com/culturestudypod. Okay, thanks. And as always, enjoy the show. This is the Culture Study Podcast, and I'm Anne Helen Peterson.
Hi, I'm Tara Bremer, and I'm a home organizer.
Okay, so Tara, your background is in psychology and counseling. How did you get from there to professional organizer? I think a lot of people have this sort of question, like how does someone become a professional organizer?
Well, in my experience, I just did it. I just started doing it. It turns out you can just do things. I was practicing counseling before I had kids, and then I had children and wanted to stay home with them. So I stayed home with them for full time for probably 8 years. Mm-hmm. And then, so I have 3 kids. And once the third one came home, I was like, oh dear, I would like to do something where I get some satisfaction and maybe some affirmation and maybe some money. Because turns out having children is kind of thankless. They're not being like, thank you for doing what you do, mommy. I just found a lot of like gratification and like I call it healthy control. Like if I was going to have control or mastery over this junk drawer, that made me feel pretty good. Whereas, being a stay-at-home mom, you don't always know when there's going to be, a blowout diaper or a no-nap day, and it's hard, thankless. So I was like, I need to do something where I get some thanks. So I had been sort of like blogging about organizing because I did it in my own house, and then I was like, you know what, someone's going to pay me to do this, I bet. And so I started the business and just did it.
Well, and I also like knowing what you know about psychology and counseling, like those are things that are actually very important when it comes to thinking about stuff and our relationship to stuff. And we did an interview on the podcast several months ago with the daughter of 2 hoarders, and talking to her about all of the things that she has learned about herself and about her parents and the psychology of hoarding. And I found it really, really interesting because it prompted a lot of conversations and self-interrogation about like all of us have relationships to stuff.
Absolutely.
And every society is different about telling us what is a proper and improper relationship and where does that line fall. It changes all the time.
Yeah, I do think it's a weird thing that I have a job where when I speak to non-Americans, it's got to blow their minds. I have a job
Yeah, yeah.
where I get paid to help people deal with their excessiveness. The psychology does play into it, the personality types. I love the Enneagram. I love all personality typing, but that's my kind of go-to. Like, I'm going to suggest different things to different people based on how I know they approach the world. I mean, not everybody knows their Enneagram type, but I try to get to know my clients really well and make some educated guesses. But certainly, like, mental illness at the kind of extreme, or just depression, anxiety, ADHD, autism, all of those things figure into our relationship to our house and our things. And so I want to set people up for success. So I try not to, do something for them or with them that's not sustainable.
We have a lot of questions today. We're going to treat this as sort of an advice time segment, extended advice time segment. Obviously, this advice is not going to work for everyone. It might work for you. Some of it is about handling your own feelings. A lot of it is about handling other people's feelings, and specifically about handling the feelings of your parents or relatives. Because the thing that prompted us to do this episode was just hearing from a lot of people about stuff that they are receiving from their parents. The millennial stuff dump, right? Or is that what we want to call it, Melody? I feel like we need a good phrase for it. I love it. No, I was
kind
saying,
of fecal.
No, I was saying no, but better than stuff dump, like millennial stuff dump is actually the boomer stuff dump. So millennials are inheriting a stuff dump from their parents and that generation. I think actually our parents also dealt with this from their parents, who were the first to really like go through adulthood in the post-war, very consumerist period. And a lot of them too, at least in my situation, like my grandparents were very scarred by the Depression and have some accumulative tendencies because of that. So it's not so much that they were obsessed with buying things. It was that they were obsessed with keeping things.
That's right. And actually, as a sociology person, like I would love your thoughts on this. The boomers are in a very unique position. Nobody's had as much stuff as them before.
I know.
And so...
And no one's had as big houses that they can keep all their stuff. Many of them, not all, but many of them have very large houses where they have been able to accumulate these things.
Yeah, and they don't move.
Their parents.
They stay, in the same house for 30 years. So there's no like automatic purging. So yeah, like the generational thing is huge. They've got the silent generation sensibilities of like saving and keeping, but they don't have the millennial sense of like, oh no, but I can afford to buy my own china. I don't need yours. Or no china at all.
You're right. Oh, and we'll get into that too. And I think also one thing we'll talk about is like millennials don't necessarily have the space to absorb all of these materials. Gen X too, right? Like we are in a place where like there is now many generations of accumulated stuff and less space than ever because of the way that our economy is, because of the way that the generations have worked, less space than ever to keep it, and also less desire to keep it. So we have both of those things coming together. All right. We're going to try not to spend an entire hour on every question, even though we could. So,
can I give my own caveat before we get into the questions?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Because I do think that all of these questions are super thoughtful and pretty serious. And I want to approach that with respect, but I am good. All of them are kind of in light of our parents' imminent deaths. So I think we should just get that out there to begin with. I am going to reference that. I don't want to be flippant about death, but we can talk matter-of-factly about that, So if I had more information on each one, obviously some of my answers would be different. So I'm just doing the best I can. But, they're good questions.
Great caveat. Our first question is not really a question. It's just a list that's representative of the stuff that we're talking about. Let's hear from Amy.
I wanted to give you a short list of what I've got to sort through. My parents' dining room table is currently in the garage after they downsized to a condo. My little sister's vacuum-sealed collection of Cabbage Patch dolls and outfits that my grandmother handmade for them. My own daughter's boxes of ceramics from elementary school. I am 55, and our house is the extended family storage unit.
She might be the only person who has enough space for her sister's Cabbage Patch dolls. This is happening in my family because my brother is too far away to like have his Christmas ornaments, And so like that box is going to be at my house. that sort of
But
thing.
it takes a certain kindness or generosity to say yes. But she, Amy sounds generous, but the flip side to her generosity is that maybe she says yes too often.
And resents it.
Yeah, and maybe her family knows that she won't say no to them. So it's a boundary issue, not to oversimplify, but it's not unkind to say to the family members, hey, I'm clearing out some space at home. So if you'd like the dining room table back, you can come pick it up before Saturday because I've got the thrift store truck coming for my donations. I mean, it's totally fine for her not to want to be the storage unit. And I would be super curious about her daughter. So if she's 55, maybe her daughter's, 30. And it's okay. Like her daughter may not even want that box of ceramics. Maybe she should ask her.
Well, and that's the thing is it's always asking. This happened actually when my mom downsized significantly a couple years ago. And there were so many things that because I didn't want her to throw them away and she had space to keep them.
No.
So they just stayed there. But when like rubber hit the road, like that allowed me a chance to really make some decisions. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as we move forward. So We're going to go through questions about what to do with stuff. These are pretty straightforward. We have 2 questions about photos, which we actually got a ton of questions about photos, and I wanted to include 2 that are approaching it from slightly different directions. The first question comes from Shelby.
I have all of my family photos, 3 big boxes. I know that I could have them scanned and keep them digitally, but the emotional hurdle of throwing away those physical prints, it's too big to clear. I'm an adult orphan now, and getting rid of those physical photographs feels like I'm losing my parents all over again. I'm also childless, so I don't have anyone to pass these down to. Should I just keep them for now and leave my husband to deal with them after I'm gone?
And the second is from Jackie.
My mother has a vast amount of family history information, including many photo albums. I don't share her passion, and nor do I want to have responsibility for these when she goes. But no one else in my family wants them either. She has 3 brothers and 2 sisters. None of them want them. So it's going to become my problem, and I don't know what to do with them.
Okay, so let's tackle this first question first about your own photos. I just saw I was just advertised. I was just targeted on Instagram. Kodak is doing this box situation where you put all of your photos, like you put them into these little Ziplocs, you put in any like negatives that you might have. A lot of people I know have negatives, they have slides, like whatever the format is, you put it into this box, you send it away, and I'm guessing many hundreds of dollars later, you now have it digitalized, you have like a little stick. This is incredible, and I think it takes away some of that emotional hurdle if people have the resources to get it done. But she's talking specifically about the physical prints, and I totally get this. People who didn't grow up with physical prints might not understand the like tactile connection to these photos as much. But what would you advise here?
Well, I think too, like some people have stretched and exercised the discard muscles more than others, and some people are fine with getting rid of physical photos. I think, again, this is one of those complicated questions that I don't want to be dismissive of. But I think if it's too emotionally difficult to deal with the photos now, I don't think 3 big boxes is a big deal. Throw them up in the attic. I wouldn't even bother scanning them. Why would she? She doesn't have anybody to pass them down to. It just doesn't seem like it'd be worth the money and time.
Oh, see, I'm so connected to
Well,
them.
you might
like
be.
The fact she's like, I feel like, I know, but she says, I'm an adult orphan now, and getting rid of these photos feels like I'm losing my parents all over again. Like she's gonna want these images.
But I'm not saying get rid of the boxes. I'm saying put them up.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about it is what I mean. I don't mean, like if it was me, I'm not as attached to stuff like that, so I might discard them. But like when she said, should I keep them now and my husband can throw them away after I die? Maybe. I think that's an okay choice.
That's okay. That's
I mean, if
totally
she
okay.
was like if her whole household was overwhelming and it was just all this stuff, maybe my answer would be different. I just don't think 3 big boxes of photos is a big deal. Don't worry about it. Keep them.
Yeah. Well, and I think also decide if you are you a photo person? Like, do you want some of these photos? You don't have to get them all scanned.
True.
One thing you could do, when I was a kid, this is part of why I'm a photo person. One of my great pleasures was sitting and leafing through all of our photo albums. We have dozens of photo albums, and my mom would put like little notes next to them and stuff, and I just love like so much of the story I tell myself about like my childhood is really gleaned from the way that these photos were. And so it would be pleasurable to me to go through those photos, and I've done this. Actually, I have done this, and I did it very wonky digitally, like I took pictures with my phone, which is not great, but to go through, select 50 that feel really special to you. Keep those, put them somewhere
Love it.
precious, right? Where like no air, no moisture can get to them, and digitize those. And those are the ones like that you will not lose your parents or your memories of your parents if you keep those.
Yeah,
precious
what you're talking about is
ones
a
too.
curation, and I think that's a huge deal. And like, yeah, get them scanned, but maybe just also go ahead and put them in a photo album and put them on your coffee table or somewhere where you know. I personally, I went to see a friend, actually a friend's parents from my childhood, and it was to get a trumpet lesson for my daughter. So we were just killing time while she was getting her lesson. And I asked my friend's mom, I was like, do you have any photo albums of when me and your girls were teenagers? And she pulled these things out, and it was a freaking joy. And my son was with me, and we looked through them. So yeah. There's something to be said for that. And like just friends looking at things, I think that's fine. And what I would say how to make time to do that, if she wants to get down to the practical nitty gritty, pull one of those boxes out, put on a junk TV show that you don't have to pay that much attention to.
Yeah.
Get a glass of wine or a coffee, or, you know, make it like an event. Maybe your spouse is with you. Body doubling, doesn't have to be going through it with you. And just sit down and do it. And then you've got a nice experience, and you've got the reward of having, you know, getting it done.
Or like one box per weekend.
Right.
Per month, right? That's how I divvy up tasks. I'm like, okay, this weekend I'm going to do that one box, and then I'm going to do another box of, you know, so that it doesn't seem like there's.
Yeah, put it on the calendar. Make it an appointment with yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, second question is about photos of people, and we have a little bit of this. Photos of people that you do not know, right? Like extended family, like, and we got a lot of this. And oftentimes they're really beautiful photos because they were from a time.
That's right.
When people took so many fewer photos. So she doesn't want them. She doesn't share this passion. She does not want this responsibility. No one else in the family wants the responsibility. I have an idea, but I would love to hear your idea.
Okay, yeah, I can't wait to hear yours. So when she said she says it's going to become my problem. I assume that means after her mom has died. And I say at that time, it's okay to get rid of them. My personal preference is not to throw them away. It would be to there are some people who want vintage photos, even if they don't know the subjects. So I would offer them for free in a buy nothing group. It really is okay. I often think about what people might use the photos for, decor, or there's a vintage lady who sells muumuus here in Birmingham. She helped dress people on the set of White Lotus and caftans, excuse me. And
muumuus is such a southern way of saying it. Anyway, go ahead.
So all of her price tags are on little vintage photos of whatever, little black and white.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's so cool. And so she has a stamp on the back that's got her name and stuff on it. And like I kept one. It was a picture of a little white church.
Yeah.
Just adorable. So people might use that. Someone might use it to dress a set if they're filming a film or, you know, whatever. So I would say, I think a lot of times people are like, no one's going to want that. And I'm like, no, we got to always default to try to give it to its next owner, in my opinion.
That is such a great idea. The other one that I would advise, and I would actually task your mom with this, because I think if you are really into family history, you're also into the preservation of family history. Have your mom look into the historical societies of the places where your extended family grew up.
Love that.
Because they want those photos. They absolutely want those photos. And so if you can arrange for a donation after you pass, like what a gift to your, and if anyone's listening to this and thinking about this, what a gift to your future family to have a repository for them if your family doesn't want them. So
I love this idea.
Today's episode is brought to you by ZocDoc. So have you ever had that feeling when you walk out of a doctor's office, like maybe a new provider, and you think, wow, this is actually the provider for me. Like, this actually worked. I actually just had this myself. I just switched providers, and like, she just asked questions that like no one had spent time asking, like looked at some things in my chart and was like, wait, you're allergic to all these things? This can't be right. Let's like figure this out so that you can actually go to the emergency room. I won't tell you much more about my medical history, but she just like, I don't know, it was just perfect. You can find doctors that provide that sort of match on ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you too can find someone that you love. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across 50 states. So whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, that's what I was looking for, eye care, or one of 200 plus other specialties offered on ZocDoc, you can easily search by specialty or symptom to build the care team that's right for you. If you want to see your doctor in person, you can do that. If you prefer a video visit, you can do that too. You can view thousands of verified patient reviews to give you a real sense of who your doctor is. You can feel confident that you can book with a doctor you know you'll love. When you're ready, you can see their real-time availability and click to book instantly. So there's no phone tag and no waiting around. Appointments made through ZocDoc also happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even sometimes find same-day appointments. So stop putting off your doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/culture to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/culture. ZocDoc.com/culture. Thanks, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this message. Today's episode is brought to you by Article. I am helping someone pick out outdoor furniture for a specific space, and she's getting this cool long table from Article that is called the Lotta Outdoor Dining Table. It's in slate gray. It's very slick looking. I just love it. One of the things I love about it too is it's super easy to buy the cover for it because it's always the first thing I think about now, given where I live. But the other thing I love is like the chairs that you get with it, they are so cute. They're called the Manna Outdoor Dining Chair, and they have them, they're kind of like this woven, comfortable fabric, but like not in a woven like your granddad's chair that he sat in the backyard smoking in kind of chair. We're talking about like chic. I really like the color that is Sonoma red, and it just gives like a different feel, like a more spicy feel than your typical like outdoor set that's just all metal and wood or polyplastic or whatever it is. So if you're looking for outdoor furniture, strongly suggest. I have a bunch of outdoor furniture from Article and it lasts. I've had it for over 4 years. Sometimes I forget to even put the cover on. It's doing so great. No rust. I cannot even tell you how much rain we have received, and it is not rusting. And that's because Article has quality without compromise. They take great care in curating its collection, and they focus solely on high-quality pieces that will stand the test of time. There is no filler. Every item is chosen for its craftsmanship, design, and lasting value. And with Article's 30-day satisfaction guarantee, you can shop with confidence, knowing that if you're not completely in love with your new furniture, you can easily return it. This peace of mind ensures you can invest in your home without hesitation. So, if you're in the market for a beautiful new outdoor set, a new bed for your guest room, or a full-length mirror, head over to article.com. Next question comes from Amelia.
My husband and I were so fortunate to move into and buy my grandparents' old house, and we love it. There are still quite a few of their belongings here that we've either adopted as our own or stored in the attic. My parents have helped with clearing out some of the furniture and kitchen items, but the thing I'm stuck on is the library. My grandparents were big readers, and we have boxes and boxes of their books taking up space. I just can't stomach the idea of bringing the books to the dump, but I don't know what to do with them. There are so many that I can't feasibly donate them to a thrift store or library. Also, most of them are nonfiction on topics like Catholicism and history. After 3 years of living here, I still haven't found a solution and would love any suggestions.
So I know exactly what these books look like. Like I can picture them so vividly. My granddad had this huge like armoire almost full of this type of old book, most of them nonfiction. I'm just picturing the Catholic history is like such a niche thing. It's just lovely. You actually probably cannot donate them to the library. The library does not want them. They do not want old books like that they cannot circulate. Like that is not a repository for them. Thrift stores, maybe, but probably not. So I do have an idea for this, but I would love to hear yours first again.
I really do wish that we knew how many books we were talking about. This is a really interesting challenge.
Well, boxes and boxes.
Yeah, hundreds.
I'm thinking
Thousands.
like 500 plus at least.
I mean, I had the thought of maybe contacting a local Catholic church and seeing could somebody use these. Some churches have very specific libraries on their grounds.
Yeah.
I would also think about contacting a university if there's something that might be useful to university. I've got a bunch of old geology books that belong to my husband, and I feel like someday they might be useful in some sort of archival, university situation. But I would open up a box, take some pictures of the titles and condition. But I just feel like you never know who could use them. And if you feel like donating or like dealing with them in a slow manner, you could also, just for funsies, offer them as a lot. I'll offer some books like as a box, like this box is $20. Like see on Facebook Marketplace, someone might be decorating a house and they just need some pretty colored spines or whatever. I just feel like I never want to be the one. I don't want the buck to stop with me if I can help it in terms of like going to the landfill. I just hate waste.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the time, call the thrift store and just ask them.
Same idea. So many people want old books.
Mm-hmm.
So for the hardbacks, that is, I think if you put that on Facebook Marketplace, someone is going to jump at it.
I want her
not
to do
even
it.
like
Amelia,
$10.
Amelia, do it and report back.
The paperbacks, many paperbacks can actually be recycled. Like they can just be recycled as paper. So that's a different opportunity than the landfill. So that's like there is less of a market for very old paperbacks. So I would divide them by hardback and paperback, and then I would hopefully sell them as decoration, which historically many of these types of books were used as like they were only decorative in the first place, really. Like they were things that were passed down through families and they just stayed there and they were musty and no one used them. So it's not like you are like alienating them from their purpose necessarily.
Yeah, and I think it's a good lesson for us to learn. I'm Gen X, so you've got Gen X and millennial listeners probably for the most part. And it's like a good lesson for us. What is it that we want to pass down? What is the point of a book? Is the point to, like for me, fiction, I'm never going to buy a physical copy of fiction. That's my Kindle only.
Anyway.
Well, because I never reread them. I don't really reread fiction.
Right, but they are my friends. They need to stay with me.
Well, come on. To each your own. It's fine. Like, I do...
Yeah, no, exactly.
I have no judgment on that. It's just my preference. But, like, I have a lot of friends who write books. I keep their books. Those are my friends. Or, in some cases, I will pass them along to someone specific if I know that they will enjoy them after I've read them. Now, books that I reference a lot, like nonfiction or whatever, I do keep. But, like, I'm also not going to keep textbooks. One caveat, again, millions of caveats and nuances here. My father-in-law was an engineering student at Purdue University, and then my husband was, and now my son is. And so we have some of his like fluid mechanics books or whatever, and they are really beautiful. My son likes to flip through them. I think that that's fine. But like if you're doing child psych from the 90s, we don't need child psych. We can just...
Especially the 90s. The cover of
Horrible.
90s textbooks are so bad.
Yes.
Okay, another one. I think we can have a quick answer to this one. This one comes from Amy.
Regarding stuff from relatives, how do I ethically get it out of my house? I can take most anything to Goodwill, but how much of the stuff they get, especially post-holidays, are they actually selling, and how much is just going into a landfill? Somewhat related, I want to get rid of the wrapping paper and gift bags we've saved for next year that are just accumulating in the closet. Is there a good way to do this, or should I cut out the middleman and just recycle or trash it all?
Okay, so I don't give stuff to Goodwill unless I absolutely have to. I try to be more directed in like, okay, so these are house goods and we have a store in town that is specifically for house goods. It's through Habitat for Humanity. Other stuff that I know someone on the island could use, I post it on Nextdoor and put it on my curb. That's Melody's favorite device too. And then singing the praises of Buy Nothing. I think sometimes people are like, well, what if someone is going to resell it? And I'm like, good for them.
Then they're going to spend the time and earn that money. Like, that's fine. I don't want to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's such like this weird, like, I don't know, moralism of people being scared that someone is going to take something from you for free and then they're going to make money from it. I'm like, good. That's great.
It doesn't go to waste. I mean, I do donate to the thrift store a lot because we are doing big excavations. So my team, like we are going quickly. Time is money. And so taking the time to parse things out is not usually within the scope of the job unless someone specifically requires it. I do have some clients who are like, it would mean a lot to me if somebody who really loves Halloween would take these foggers. This happened to me like a month ago. And so I took the foggers and instead of putting them at the thrift store, I put them on my porch and I did Buy Nothing. And it was great. And in fact, my neighbor across the street is the one who saw it online. I know. And I don't even...
And now you're going to see those foggers every
Halloween. And I'm going to think of my client who's so generous. I do like to let Goodwill and other charities do their thing because they do have a rubric on how things get sold and how they get marked down and how they get recycled or discarded. But I do know that like when you're doing maintenance, if you're just in a maintenance phase of like decluttering, you can take the shovel instead of the excavator and because it does feel better to give things to people who need them or want them. Sell on Facebook Marketplace. I'm going to be honest, I don't sell a lot there because I don't know why. People don't like my stuff. So whatever. I'm like, this is a good thing. But see, that's the other thing is we all value our own possessions more than other people might.
But also, see, this is like regarding stuff from relatives. Like this person does not want to make any money off of this. And this is why I say Buy Nothing group and just do a porch pickup. Like, let go of that desire that you have to like, and you could say this for stuff that even you kind of care about and are like, I could get $5 from this. Let go of the $5.
Again, back to what I said earlier about how this can inform us moving forward with our own possessions. I mean, this is why I have such a conviction that reduce, reuse, recycle, yes, but the greatest of these is reduce. Do your part to stop the overconsumption and deal with the stuff as you need to. Don't let stuff pile up.
Yeah. And if like this person, I think I'm trying to remember, but there was a couple others that were like, oh my gosh, I've tried to have so many conversations with my relatives about like, stop giving me these gifts, like stop giving me this trash, you know, just like tchotchkes and stuff. Like sometimes it's people who the way that they express love is by giving things, and it does not matter what the value of those things or if the person wants those things, they have to receive those things. But there are ways to get those to other people who would actually like them. And I know that people have ethical obligations to being on Facebook. I think I understand it. Just get on it and like, or post on your neighborhood listserv, like whatever way you have of connecting with your community, people will take it. Melody, do you have good experiences with just leaving a box in front of your house?
Oh, it disappears 100% of the time in a day. And if it's larger, we just like tape a piece of paper to it and says free or like needs new bulb or like works kind of.
Yeah. There is a Buy Nothing app. I tried to use it a couple years ago. It was super buggy, but I have the feeling it's better now. So that's another thing if people don't want to be on Facebook.
Okay, second half of this episode is all about, this is so in your wheelhouse, how stuff impacts our relationships. So we get to talk all about it. This question comes from Sophie.
My grandparents had their service for 12 good china shipped to us, with each piece individually bubble wrapped, when my husband and I got married in 2002. It's a perfectly lovely ivory with gold trim, and is a pattern that's been discontinued but isn't in high demand on the resale market. Our options are regift, donate to Goodwill, throw away, or just use it. After using these dishes maybe 10 times in 23 years, I think I'm just going to put them into regular use and not sweat the inevitable chipping or degradation of the gold trim. I suspect I'm going to get the hairy eyeball about it, especially from my parents. Any advice on conveying this belongs to me and I'll do what I want with it in a light/funny yet firm way?
I mean, shout out to Sophie for using this stuff. This is one that came up so often in a recent thread that we did about dealing with stuff. And so many people were like, use the china, use it, put it in the dishwasher. So, do you have any tips for her that she can say when people act weird about it?
And in my notes, I wrote in all caps, 100% use them. Super supportive of that. Yeah. Not to oversimplify. I hate this. I hate not having all the context, but like ignore the hairy eyeball. These septuagenarians, they're wonderful. My parents are them, but they probably aren't going to change. And if they just say whatever comes to the top of their head, that's just what they're going to do. And you can choose to like take it personally or not. I would suggest some light phrases to have in your back pocket if you feel like you need to say anything at all. And tone is everything. Yeah. Like my phrases aren't that clever, but like if you just say, oh, I just love them so much, so I use them. Say it with a smile on your face.
Yeah, totally.
They mean a lot to me, so I like seeing them every day. Or
I want my kids to have memories with them.
Yes, absolutely. Right? I have memories of my parents' china because they use it all the time. My parents, boomer parents use theirs all the time. And like, I think I might say that, like, oh yeah, I don't throw a lot of formal dinner parties or any dinner parties, so I just would rather use them. And then if they disapprove, just let it roll.
Love it. Great strategy. Okay, next question comes from Emily.
My spouse and I are child-free and are both at the age where our parents are wanting to pass along family heirlooms and memorabilia to their children. Knowing that we won't have another generation to inherit these items, and also facing the realities of limited storage space, we are trying to figure out ways that we can respectfully either decline these items or suggest other options for our parents to part with these sentimental keepsakes. How do you suggest tackling these conversations? What are some tangible suggestions we can offer our parents?
This is like the question. The questions. What do you suggest?
Well, let me start with a story, which is I have a child-free aunt and uncle who have been sending their keepsakes to the nieces and nephews. There's a lot of us, and it's been such a lovely thing. My aunt is so respectful. Well, also people know what I do, so like they might be extra careful with me. But I know she does this with the other cousins. She texts me pictures and she's like, hey, I was thinking you might enjoy this, or is there anything in this photo that you want? And like a couple years ago, I said, oh, I love that bird picture. It's a blue ceramic picture that's in the shape of a bird. And I use it every day to water my plants. I love it. And I think of her. And I think, again, to prepare ourselves for being the older generation, that's the approach. Like, let's offer things that are lovely, beautiful, useful, and hold other things loosely. As far as tackling the conversations, clear is kind. Yeah. And also kind is kind. I think you let them know you're in the process of decluttering because you've started to run out of space. You tell them you want some of their things and maybe specific items. I think that has meant a lot to my own parents to say, hey, you know that like turquoise necklace thing that you have in a shadow box on the wall? I would like that thing. But when they offer you things that you don't want, I would use phrases like, oh, I wish I had space for that, but I don't. It's so pretty, but maybe my brother would enjoy that. That's up his wheelhouse. Or so-and-so collects vintage quilts. I know she would use them for her photo shoots when she shoots people out in the grass or whatever. I like to make it a conversation, a back and forth. Again, people love to give away things when they know someone values it. So help them. Let it be a collaboration. Sometimes, like, don't shut it down. But like in some cases, I do think the kind thing might be to just take the thing and later deal with it. If you know it's going to cause a whole upheaval, let's preserve the relationship first. And then later you can decide what you're going to do with it.
Yeah. And I think like oftentimes, sometimes like it's sharing a memory that you have about that thing and how much you wish that you would have space. Like my grandmother's piano, I would have loved to have had it. I have no space for it. And also the cost of transporting it would have been so significant and so cumbersome that there was just no way. And instead, and I get to keep this story with me now, my mom was able to sell it for very little money. Like it wasn't about the money, to a family and a young girl who was starting piano lessons. And now like, I learned to play piano on that piano. And now another little girl who I don't know, right? But like she gets to learn piano on that piano. And that's just as meaningful to me in some ways, right? Like I am not so stuck in like family lineage that it feels bad to have someone outside of my family benefiting from that thing, if that makes sense.
I had a friend, she's actually in her 70s. She was getting rid of a bookcase that her brother built for her decades ago. Oh. And she was like, I just don't have space for it. I don't need it. I don't want it. Do you want it? And I was like, actually my son, one of my kids, has a bunch of things that he wants to display. And so, yes, I took it. It was a whole ordeal. And he styled it, and it was my joy to take a picture of it and send it to her.
Yes.
And I think that made both of us feel really good,
Yeah. Yeah. I like your idea of helping your parents come up with places that they could bring it. I tried to do that a little bit with my mom. She was very clever about it already. Like we had this old pinball machine, like an actual like pre-digital pinball machine, huge size that had lived many lives before we even got it. And again, what I would give to have this pinball machine in my life now. I love it so much. Sometimes I watch YouTube videos of it because it's like
I love that.
It's a baseball themed pinball machine. But it needed repairs, which would have cost a lot of money. Also, how do you get a pinball machine across 2 states in a ferry? And she found this guy in the next town over who was rehabbing pinball machines to open up an arcade for like teenagers. I'm like, love this next life for the pinball machine. But again, she found it, but there were other things that I was hopefully able to give some suggestions about maybe who would like it, where it could go.
And I think too, as grown-ups, when I see something that maybe is from my childhood and maybe a sibling has it or my parents are still using it, like I'll just give you an example. My parents have this teapot you put directly on the on the burner, and it's that old Corningware.
Yep, I can picture it in my head.
And I love it so much. I just went on eBay and I found it and I bought it. And that thing makes me really happy.
That's great.
I have $20. Okay. I can buy this.
So we've talked about parents, dealing with parent stuff. This gets a little thornier when you're talking about in-laws. And Melody's going to read this question from Natalie.
How do I convince my in-laws that we cannot eventually take all of the stuff in their 3,000 square foot home, including a giant basement stuffed to the gills with holiday decor, games, clothes, photos, scrapbooks, regular books, etc., and that not being able to take all of the stuff does not mean I hate all of it or won't take any of it? How should I tease out the subtle difference between I don't want this many things in my house versus I don't want this many of your things in my house when considering family dynamics and relationships and general mass consumerism and perfectionism?
Oofda boofda. Okay, what's your take here, Tara?
This is another really tough situation with the in-law component. I think that like just as your relationship goes, you do want to make sure there's a difference. Like let them know like, oh yeah, I do this thing to be decluttery, or it's not just about them. You know what I mean? Yep. I'm wondering if she has already said something about this, like she won't be able to take it. Like, are they asking her to take it now or soon?
This is such a classic example of like the woman of the house is expected to deal with the in-laws. Really, this is a conversation that their partner should be having with their parents.
And as a future mother-in-law, I have two of a boy. I have 2 sons. Like, I need to learn from this. I need to know that I need to deal with my son and also just really think about her, this future woman who I don't know yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, she doesn't want this crappy whatever that means a lot to us. My daughter might. I don't know. So I'm wondering if Natalie means after they die.
Yes, I think so. Maybe it's because we cannot eventually take all of the stuff in their 3,000 square foot home.
Okay, yeah.
I think a lot of people around our age are looking at their parents' or in-laws' homes and thinking about the inevitable.
Yeah,
right?
Even as they should.
10, 15 years down the road, and just like hearing stories of other people who have had to do this and just wishing that there might be a little bit of a conversation about reducing. And it doesn't have to be, Swedish death cleaning, which is like, cleaning in preparation for your death, like in a very Spartan way. But it could be just thinking about the gift that you would give. But I think a lot of people, and this maybe is very American, are so scared of death that, like, in some ways, getting rid of some of those things is like inviting death to your door. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. That's happened to a family member in my family, an in-law situation, where my husband asked for something. And they were like, no, I'm not getting rid of that because it felt too close to death. And my husband was not suggesting you're going to die. He was just knew this thing wasn't being used and would like to use it. And it was immediately shut down. So, lesson learned. Let's not do that. I do think that this question is about fear and anxiety, the fear and anxiety that we have that, like, we're going to be facing death, a will, potential weird stuff with the will, planning a funeral, clearing out a house while grieving. Like, that sucks. But I'm going to tell you, like, it's going to be okay. It's annoying that this generation often forces us to deal with this while we're grieving after they're gone, but that may be better than having a huge fight about it now.
Yeah.
So in some cases, I'm like, pick your battle time. I don't know that I would try to convince anybody of anything in this situation.
Yeah. Especially as the daughter-in-law.
Right. Like, just don't.
But I also have some empathy for Natalie here, because I think she also maybe is sensing that, like, when this happens, that she will take on a lot of the burden.
She may. And to sound a little coarse, what's going to happen is the death is going to happen, the funeral is going to happen, and then one person will probably take the lead. We'll say it's her. And you're going to start the charge. You're going to parse out belongings, and then you're going to get a dumpster, or you're going to get the thrift store truck, and you're going to have a painful, shitty week, and then it'll be over. Mm-hmm. Within, again, I know no other context, but you're going to have a short period of time where it's going to suck, but I just don't know that it's worth the battle right now while the parents are still alive. I don't know.
Nope. I hear that. I really hear that. And I think everyone has to, like, think about how ready the older person in their life, or the person who needs, like, whose stuff you're going to have to deal with, like, how ready are they to have this conversation? If they are very much not ready and they're not going to be ready, then save yourself the pain now. I agree with that for sure. Today's episode is brought to you by ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. This weekend, I'm doing something super fun. It's one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. And it is the day when I complete my massive graph paper thing of where all of the dahlias go. And then with my friends, we go and we put them in the ground. And it takes all day. But the best thing at the end of the day is having a really cold beer. Like, you're just out in the sun all day. You're covered in dirt. It's up in your fingernails. Like, it's all in your face. And then it just feels so good to sit down and, like, it's like you're in a commercial or something. Like, just have this really cold beer. And you really don't even need more than, like, I don't know, 1.5. But if you don't want to feel it, because this is the thing, like, you've worked your body hard all day. It's easy if you have 1.5 beers to feel the effects the next day. The way to avoid that is to take ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut, and it's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. So just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. So I'm going to take it after I put that last dahlia in the ground. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. May is packed with back-to-back reasons to be out and enjoying a beverage. So don't let rough mornings after keep you on the sidelines. Drink pre-alcohol to stay ahead of it and make the most of every Saturday this month. Go to zbiotics.com/culturestudy to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use code CULTURESTUDY at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money at no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/culturestudy and use code code Culture Study at checkout for 15% off. Today's episode is brought to you by Jones Road Beauty. Melody, you're looking at me through the Zoom camera right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like a normal Tuesday. Do you know what I do to like feel like a person who has to appear on Zoom calls with people?
Tell me.
I put on a little bit of Jones Road Miracle Balm.
Ugh.
It's my favorite. I really do. I use it every single day. I love it. It is the makeup. Like, this is such the like dewy faced, like, I'm not wearing makeup, but I'm wearing makeup look.
But like, I've seen the sun
right?
recently.
Yes, like it's like I'm slightly put together, but I'm not too put together.
Yes.
And I know this is like we're treading a cool girl line here, but for me personally, I like, and especially at my age, like I do not want to spend very much time putting makeup on my face. I just don't. But I also still am slightly vain and also, like you said, want to look like you have seen like a little bit of sun, like just a little sun kissed, right? And that's what Miracle Balm really does. So it comes in this like little pot and you just put your fingers in there, kind of swirl them around, and then you just put a tiny bit. I put it on my cheeks and rub it in, and it lasts all day. Every formula for Jones Road Beauty is packed with skin-loving ingredients that nourish your skin instead of clogging or caking. I can attest to that. I have pretty sensitive skin. Like, I would easily get breakouts, and I have never broken out because of Jones Road. It looks and feels natural. Again, like you're not really wearing makeup, but you just like, I don't know, look good. And they have a ton of colors so you can figure out the one that matches for you. Jones Road is modern day makeup that's clean, strategic, and multifunctional for effortless routines. For a limited time, our listeners are getting a free gift on their first purchase when they use code CULTURE at checkout. Just head to jonesroadbeauty.com and use code CULTURE at checkout. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that our show sent you. We have two kind of philosophical questions that are turning back to the self to end on. This question comes from Megan, and Melody's going to read it.
In response to the prompt about stuff from relatives, I'm wondering if social media is influencing how I feel about furniture my relatives have passed on. My husband and I bought a house recently and were kindly offered lots of furniture from relatives. While we were grateful for and did accept some of it, we turned a lot down, in part because we didn't like how it looked. For how some of our relatives reacted to this, like we should take whatever we're offered and just be glad of it, I got the sense that in previous generations, a sense of personal style, especially when it comes to your home, was considered a frivolous luxury. I can't help but wonder, has Instagram created or fostered the sense that you should curate what's in your home and that there's a predominant aesthetic that this should follow? I'm struggling to balance a sense of being grateful for the pieces we did take with their family connections and stories, while feeling a little resentful that I'm expected to accept anything that's offered. But I feel that it mightn't have bothered me so much if I didn't spend so much time on social media seeing perfect homes. I think this is much more pervasive than, say, interior design magazines of the past because of the hours spent on our phones as opposed to picking up a magazine once a month.
Okay, so I understand what Megan is trying to get at here, right? And we are so obsessed, and you see this in interior design and also in like redoing kitchens and stuff like that, with redoing things and redecorating, right? Whereas my grandparents' home, there was a sofa, there was a settee that it was very special to me because I thought it was so fancy when I was a little kid. A dark walnut, like kind of ornate, and then it had maroon velvet. And they had it from the time that they moved into that house in like the late 50s, early 60s until my granddad passed away in 2011. It was just there. And there were so many other pieces, same thing, either that had been passed down to them or that they bought it once and then they kept it forever. Now, part of the reason for this is that stuff was better. Like furniture was just better.
100%.
This is just a fact.
Kitchen cabinets were built better. Yeah.
Yes, everything. Couches lasted longer, that sort of thing. And I understand that. At the same time, the way that a lot of our parents and grandparents' furniture makes a room feel like that is different. The way that a bunch of heavy cherry furniture matching set in your bedroom, the way that makes a room feel is different. And I think it's okay to be like, that's not the feel I'm going for. What do you think here?
I think that what we're talking about really is contentment. And yes, the internet does affect our contentment. I mean, for sure, IG is a problem. Before that was blogs. And as she mentioned, it was decorating magazines. And
for sure. Yeah.
But if IG is contributing to the dissatisfaction, mess around with the algorithm and try to foster a sense of contentment in other ways. But I also think that the cost of production and imports has allowed us to be choosier about what we have. And we are just exposed to more choices no matter what. I mean, go into Walmart for Pete's sake. Back in the day, you needed your grandmother's china because otherwise you wouldn't have any. Today, we can buy our own dishes or buy, something that does please us. So I think maybe quiet down the algorithm.
Yeah, I do see this obsession with like everything needs to be an expression of our true selves, and it needs to be at once individual but also conformist at the same time. It's very, very tricky needle to thread, right? You should have a house that doesn't feel cookie cutter in any way, but also you should do it under a certain budget and things should be nice. But like with that said, and I think you're right, like the more we get away from design stuff, like unfollow those accounts, like make sure that your suggested posts are off, all that sort of thing. But the heart, or at least this is what's saying to me from this question, is the grandparents or parents being kind of like miffed that like, how dare you not accept my gift? This is an expensive piece of furniture. This is quality, right?
Well, okay. So what about using humor to disarm that? Like, I know you're right. I'm vain. Or I know I'm picky. It's so annoying. I can't help it. Like just
or like this just doesn't really go with like the rest of our house. Like it's a real like compliment it. Be like, this is the craftsmanship on this.
Yeah, that's better. That's better. Yeah.
So high. It's so high. It's just too bad that this wood just doesn't match with the rest of our wood or whatever.
I know. And I just if my wood doesn't match, it's really gonna be bothersome to me. Yeah. Like I like that better. Mine might sound a little judgy to that generation.
I think the other thing that sometimes people don't account for is how difficult it is to move stuff from one place to another. And to make something that like, instead of getting a table that fits your tiny apartment, right? Because like sometimes you have like it needs to be a pretty specific size and you have to spend a lot of time finding a table that is that size. Instead of just being like, well, I'm going to make this large ass table that is my mom's grandma's work in this space. There's joy to that, but also it can make you, every time you enter that space, you feel cramped, you feel claustrophobic. Like one of the joys of adulthood is being able to have a little bit more choice. And it doesn't even mean that you need to spend a bunch of extra money. It might mean that you go to the thrift store and you find a table that someone like your mom or your grandma donated. That's right. And then you bring that right-sized piece of furniture into your house.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect example where you could say, I hate that I cannot fit this thing in my kitchen. I hate it.
Yeah. Right. Just like, this is our whole strategy here is like compliment and then
I know. What's it called? Like the compliment sandwich? That's not what it's called.
Yeah. No, compliment sandwich. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. And then I wanted to end with this question because I think a lot of us who have maybe internalized some of this decluttering mindset, like we're trying to help other people in our lives declutter. Like some of it involves taking some pretty like extreme measures, but we're also worried about thinking about what if I take this too far? So this question comes from Noelle.
Like many millennials, I'm navigating the stuff dump from my boomer parents and feel like I've developed a pretty good system for it. Most of it is immediately disposed of one way or another. However, I feel like this is impacting my own system around keeping things, and I sometimes think I'm being too liberal in what I toss in an effort to not become my parents and burden my children with stuff. It's like I'm living in an extreme, drowning in stuff from my parents and keeping almost nothing of my own. What is worth saving? How can I strike a better balance of knowing what might be worth holding on to and what should be tossed? And how does the enshittification of everything factor into this? Will things today even last if I deem them worthy?
First of all, is enshittification, is that a word? Is that a thing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a concept, comes from Cory Doctorow. And it's this idea that basically stuff in our current moment of capitalism, like as everything has been driven to become more optimized and more focused just on profit mindedness, then the quality or like the function of it gradually degrades. So if you're thinking about clothes, these sweaters are not worth hanging on to donate to your grandchildren.
Right.
Whereas like I actually received a sweater of my grandmother's cashmere sweater that was still in pristine, like it was just beautiful. And that's because the quality was so high that it actually was worth keeping and passing down to another generation.
Got it. This is a great word. I'm glad to know that term now. I really get Noelle's pendulum swing, what she's talking about. Too much stuff from parents in a reactionary way. We're not keeping as much. Yep. I am more of a minimalist. I mean, I'm not a classic minimalist, but I am more of one because I'm exposed to so much excess every week. I'm in, knee deep in people's stuff, not necessarily hoarding, but sometimes, but also just everybody, like standard middle class, too much stuff. I'm sure that my own minimalism is reactionary, but I don't really care in my situation. I mean, I've learned so much, right? Like I've learned like, oh, these are the things that people regret getting rid of. And these are things that no one ever cares about.
What do people regret getting rid of?
Sometimes it's really funny things that like, I'll tell you a couple of mine. I donated a backpack that we never use, and my husband was like, hey, where's that backpack? And I'm like, I regretted it because it impacted him. He was like, oh, I like it for this specific person and or purpose. I mean, and it just made me feel really bad that I wasn't, aware of that.
Oh, that you hadn't like asked him first.
Yeah. Cause like, I know what he likes and loves. Like I don't get rid of his precious things, but that turned out was a little bit precious. I regret getting rid of some things like my stroller. I had a really great stroller for my my oldest son. It was really hard back in 2005 to find a rear-facing stroller, but I was very much an attachment style mom, and I found one and I loved it. And then I started having more kids, and I was like, I don't need this anymore because it just is one. And like I just didn't really think through like the continued use for it, or that my sister might want it. It's nothing valuable, but like, how many years later, my son's 20, like I still remember that. I mean, I have very few regrets. But okay, so there's these writers called the minimalists. Are you familiar with the minimalists? They have a great concept called the 2020 rule, because I think a lot of people are worried about just in case items, like just in case I need this thing. So their rubric for just in case is called the 2020 rule. If it can be replaced in 20 minutes for less than $20, you can go ahead and move it along to its next life, whatever that might be. And 90% of the time, maybe even more, you don't actually ever need that thing. But this is something that we have inherited from our parents. Like we might need these twisty ties from the bread bag, so we're going to keep them all. When in fact, no one ever needs a twisty tie. And if you do, they're really easy to get, and that more will come into your life, or like how just
more will come into your life. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Or you could keep,
like
maybe
bags.
you could keep 5. You could put them in the little like next to your Ziplocs, just in case you have a bag that needs a twisty tie. Right?
Yep. That'd be fine.
Yeah, I really feel this tension too, and I do think it is like kind of being part of the sandwich, right? Like being an adult and being at a point, a later in life adult, where you have accumulated stuff. Like, in some ways, I'm very lucky in that I've moved a lot. And so every time I move, just shedding stuff always. And it feels,
because you're not going to want to pay to move stuff you don't love.
And like even just the practice of boxing something up is very clarifying, right? Like if you don't know which box it goes into, do you need it? That's interesting, right? Like,
and so often most people, when they are moving, typically, not always, are moving to maybe a nicer house or a bigger house. And like, when you want to bring this thing into your new pretty house? Really? You know what I mean?
Or just like, oh, I don't know. But at the same time, I think, we had another question was like, I feel like I'm not going to have any photos of myself. And that, I think, is also coming from anxiety over digitization and like link rot, which is the fact that like a lot of things that we used to read and we used to post are now degrading. And like there are photos from a very important times in my life that are only saved on Facebook in like crappy, degraded, like small size stuff, right?
Yeah.
What's going to happen with that? Or like I call it the lost years of music and of like writing and that sort of thing that are on laptops that never got digitized and like the stuff never carried over to now wherever all of the stuff lives in like Google Docs or like in Google Photos and that sort of thing. But there's this giant gap, and it's normal to fear, I think, that I'm going to feel sad about that space. But then the only thing that gives me solace there is that our relatives had so much less documentation of self.
That's right.
And they still had very vivid memories. Like, you know, whenever I go out and I'm like, oh, I wish I had my phone with me. Like, I just want to take a picture. And this ex-boyfriend used to always say to me, like, take a picture with your heart. And it's so cheesy. But like that, like make a memory instead of relying on the self-documentation or the stuff that reminds you of that thing.
It's so true. And even though we have, you know, digital photos and stuff, like, is that also what we want to burden our kids with? Now, thankfully, we've got searchability, but like sometimes we don't need a picture of the sunset.
No, it's just for
maybe
us.
Maybe we have it just for a moment, you know, or we don't post it, but like maybe we also just have it and then eventually delete it. I don't know. I will say to you, are you familiar with, do you know Laura Tremaine?
Mm-mm.
Okay, Laura Tremaine, she's popular in my internet circles. She's a Los Angeles-based reader and writer. But she often says, document your own history. Mm. And I remember specifically during the LA fires, was it last year now? Mm-hmm. That she said, document your own history. So she will often take screenshots of her phone when like a news article pops up with an important headline. Or like sometimes I screenshot meaningful texts from my kids because even though I'll have the text, I'm never going to
you might not
back.
Always have the text, right? Like things
we
get
might
wiped,
not.
You know?
Well, good point.
Yeah.
So like, especially recently with my kids being teenagers and super interesting and funny, I'll screenshot some stuff, even including like some meltdowns, like, I'm getting 50 texts that say, mom, mommy, bro. Because we got to document our own history. Yeah. And, so there's some sort of balance, but I'm a big photo deleter as well. Yep. So there's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah. That's a way to like have some digital hygiene, right? Some digital keeping those spaces decluttered, but at the same time remembering, and I love your point about like documenting the small things, whatever they are, that aren't like necessarily like frame worthy per se, but are part of your life that will remind you of yourself. Because I think that's part of what we are scared of is like somehow losing our memories of ourselves without those anchor points, whether they're journals or other analog things. But
I agree. And I think to help with mom guilt too, like I will look back at all my mistakes. I know I will because I already do. And so if I have something that reminds me of my awesome kid, she got a positive referral from a teacher, screenshot. Yeah. Or I got a sweet text from my son about something I was upset about, screenshot.
Yeah.
I want to have some points to remember.
Yeah. And I feel like that's more valuable than a billion videos. Like you can have some videos, but you don't need all of the videos. I know that from my dogs. I know dogs aren't children, but I probably don't need as many photos of my dogs. Okay, so where can people find you on the internet if they want to hear more from you, Tara?
So probably the funnest place to find me is on Instagram at house.peace. That's my business account, and I do lots of like before and after pictures and, you know, tips and tricks. My personal account is Tara B. Brimmer. That I talk about my kids being in band a lot on that page.
What do they play?
I've got a trumpet, a percussionist, and a flute player.
Amazing. A flautist.
A flautist. He's a flautist in college band. Plays piccolo, actually. And then I have a newsletter that you can find via my IG. Look for that and sign up for that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. This was really fun.
Thank you so much. I loved it.
Thanks for listening to the Culture Study Podcast. Today, paid subscribers got a bonus conversation between Melody and me about the pros and cons of having 2 dogs instead of 1. If you want to support the show and be sure you always get that very valuable bonus content, including the subscriber-only episode we did on the finale of The Pit, and subscriber-only episodes every month going forward, head to patreon.com/culturestudy. It's just $5 a month or $50 a year, and you'll get ad-free episodes, an exclusive advice time segment, and weekly discussion threads for each episode. And if you're already a subscriber to the newsletter, don't forget that you can very easily just upgrade your membership. It's just, I think, an extra $3 a month, or, tally that onto your annual membership as well. And be sure to follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. We have so many great episodes in the works, and I promise you don't want to miss any of them. If you want to suggest a topic, ask a question about the culture that surrounds you, or submit a question for our subscriber-only advice time segment, go to our Google form at tinyurl.com/culturestudypod, or check the show notes for a link. The Culture Study Podcast is produced by me, Anne Helen Peterson, and Melody Rowell. Our music is by Poddington Bear. You can find me on Instagram at Anne Helen Peterson and Melody at Melodious47.